Hey, Zoe. Okay, so we are going to read a new book. I have never seen this, but when I was going through the library before I had to go home with 50 books, I thought you would really like this one. This one's called Miss Brooks's Story Nook, where tales are told and ogres are welcome, by Barbara Bottner, illustrations by Michael Emberley. Okay, this one must be good because it was a donated book. Ready, set, go. Miss Brooks has Story Nook first thing before school, and I don't like to miss it. But whenever I take the shortcut past Billy Toomey's house, he grabs my head and yells, "I'm going to get you, Missy!" It's vexing. So mostly, I take the long way to school. But today, it was raining, and I was late. I slipped into Story Nook, and then suddenly there was a crack of thunder, and all the lights went out. It's too dark to read, so let's huddle in close and make up our own stories, said Mrs. Brooks. I mainly like to read stories, I said, not tell them. Good readers make wonderful storytellers, said Miss Brooks. In a squeaky voice, Violet said, I love the dark. Maybe we'll see ghosts. Violet loves ghosts more than anything, said Plum. I love stories more than anything, said Mrs. Brooks. So let's close our eyes. Okay, Zoe, where's your eyes? Hands up. Find your eyes and close them and let our minds wander. Everyone has a tale to tell. I've got nothing, I said. One way to begin is to think of a problem that needs solving, said Mrs. Brooks. My problem was Billy Toomey. But there was no way I was going to make up a story about him. Ugh, that Billy. Or sometimes, said Mrs. Brooks, you can start with an interesting character. Wilbur said aliens and spaceships were interesting. Violet said she liked ghosts. Plum thought aliens and ghosts were too scary. I thought it would take more than aliens or ghosts to scare Billy Toomey. Wondered if there was anything that would. An ogre lives down the street from me, I said. That's interesting. Oh, sorry, wrong person. That's interesting. Really? Said Violet. An ogre? Yes, and she has a bunch of wild animals for pets. That's an excellent start, said Mrs. Brooks. What kinds of animals? Graciela has a lion, an alligator, and maybe a couple hyenas. And disgusting smells drift up from her basement, probably from the snake. Why doesn't she have a dog? Wilbur asked. According to Graciela, snakes make great pets. She doesn't have to walk them, and they don't bark. I would rather hear about kittens, said Plum. Ghosts, said Violet. Oh, Violet's voice is really annoying. Huh. Now what happens, Missy? Asked Mrs. Brooks. Stories need action. Graciela's snake gets out of the cage. But then Graciela catches it right away. The end, said Plum. Not so fast, I say. You're right, Missy, said Mrs. Brooks. This story needs more plot. What happens next? Her snake slithers up the street to that exasperating Billy Toomey's house, I say. It wraps around him and squeezes hard. His eyes pop out. He won't be bothering anyone anymore. Whoa, said Wilbur. I guess that takes care of Billy Toomey, said Violet. Why can't there be kittens? Whispers Plum. And poor Graciela, I said, on a roll, came to a wretched end. Really? How wretched? Asked Mrs. Brooks. Well, her lion finished her off. She's dead, dead, dead. Is she now a ghost? Asked Violet. Why would you get rid of Graciella? She wouldn't bother anyone, said Plum. Plum has a good point, Missy. We all like stories that have satisfying endings, said Mrs. Brooks. So I said, okay, she doesn't get eaten. Instead, said Wilbur, Graciella gets a spaceship and returns to her planet. Too lame, I said. The kitten planet? Said Plum. Too tame. The ghost planet? Said Violet. Oh, Violet's stories are the same, said Wilbur. I'd like to know what happens to that snake, said Mrs. Brooks. Well, I said, Graciella decided snakes would be too much trouble after all. So what'd she do with it? Plum asked. Storytelling was full of questions. She gave it to me, I said. But what would you do with it? Wilbur asked. Suddenly the lights came back on. Story Nook was over. But my story still needed an ending. She's thinking. The next morning, I wasn't late. But I took the shortcut to school anyway. When Billy Toomey said, I'm gonna get you, I was ready. I gave him my best snake-eyed stare and said, Hey, Billy, did I ever tell you about the enormous flying boa constrictor my neighbor Graciella gave me? It hisses and flicks its tail and slithers around the neighborhood, sniffing out its favorite meal. Which is exasperating boys like you. At Story Nook, Mrs. Brooks asked, Did you think more about the ending of the story, Missy? I did, and I told the whole slimy tale to Billy Toomey. Really? What did Billy think? He loved it. I loved it too. It was a revolting tale with a happy ending, and I made it up myself. The end.